It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Talladega College head volleyball coach, Coach LaShaunda Spurgeon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college volleyball?
So I honestly, it was after I graduated. I had always um, kind of helped out a little bit when I went back home during the summer. And then I think it was around my senior year of college where I decided, like, I think I wanted to coach. And so after college, I was at a high school and I was the varsity assistant. And then I was also the junior varsity coach. I took over a junior varsity team that had won one game in the last couple of years and took it to a winning record. And, I did a little bit of looking for my former college coach when we played certain teams, and I'm like, hey coach, so I saw this kid, we played so and so, and I was like, I think you should take a look at her. So after doing that and, like, having a couple of kids, like reach out to a couple of kids and then potentially go to our school, that is when I really knew, like, okay, maybe I don't want to coach high school. I want to maybe get into collegiate coaching.
What was that experience like for you playing collegiate volleyball and going to Stillman's College?
It was a great experience going to Stillman. It was definitely a culture shock for me, like just being there the first year. But I think that I definitely, it took some growth and some maturity for me to kind of realize, like, my purpose and why I was there. And I think after my first year, I really just kind of locked in and really focused mentally and physically, because I did not go in, with high expectations at first, and for myself and within a team, and that was just wasn't something that I always like. That's not something that I did as an athlete. So being able to go there and after my first year kind of make a turnaround and then do the things that I did was really great for me.
What was that feeling like getting to put on that collegiate volleyball uniform for the first time for you?
It felt great because honestly, like, I didn't know if I was going to either like play basketball or volleyball. So being able to get an opportunity to play volleyball in college was a great experience, and being able to finally like when I actually recognize my purpose and, like, realizing, like, Stillman is where you're supposed to be at. I really, really, really was grateful to put on that jersey every single time that I was able to.
For you, what was that like getting into coaching and first going to Fayetteville?
So prior to Fayetteville, I was actually at a junior college, and I was assistant for 3 years, and then I was the head coach for 2 seasons. And so getting into collegiate coaching, it was kind of like, at first, I knew that I wanted to coach, and, like, coaching at the high school level and just seeing what I was able to do on the high school and club level, and seeing, what I poured into kids, and then seeing them kind of like show that on the court really was something that I always looked forward to. So when I got to the collegiate level and I was able to pour into my athletes and, see them, tell them, correct something or do something, and then see them like implement that on the court was big. So, like, going to Fayetteville State, it was definitely a great experience for me. I had a good head coach. And coming from being like a first time head coach at a junior college to coming to a Division II and being an assistant and just kind of learning the ropes. I was only there for a year, but within that small frame, we did a lot and I learned a lot and I took a lot from that, which I was able to kind of transfer over to when I actually became a head coach at the 4 year level.
What was that experience like transferring over and becoming a head coach at Dillard?
Yeah, so transferring over into a head coach from an assistant at and going into Dillard, it was definitely different. I came at the beginning of COVID, so I got my keys one day, and then I got my keys, and in that same day, my athletic director was telling me, like, hey, we're shutting down. We'll work from home. So having to like just step into things. I was in a new city, a new state. First time head coach at a 4 year, and I had to recruit kids to come in. I didn't get to meet my kids. I met two kids in the hallway as I was like going into my office. And so just kind of like navigating those circumstances with those kids was definitely a good experience learning wise. It was also something to kind of grow from. There were so many things that we experienced within my first year. We had COVID, we had a hurricane, and it was just so many things that happened during that little time. But it made me who I am today. And despite all of those things happening, we made a lot of milestones within my first year, and that motivated me and that gave me, the confidence to know, like, hey, you can do this. You are. This is where you're supposed to be at. And so I really, really, really enjoyed my first year at Dillard for sure.
During your time at Dillard, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
I think, the biggest, a couple of them. I think, going back to that first year during COVID, having a new team that where I recruited, I think I had 4 or 5 kids on the team that were my kids. Being able to have the season that we had, one game that sticks out to me is, we were in the gym, we were playing Loyola. Dillard had never beat Loyola. We were in there, we were down 2 sets. We reverse swept them, ended up taking that match from them, and just seeing like, the excitement on my girl's face was really, something big for me. Not only that, going in there were 3 seasons in a row that we were undefeated, being regular season conference champions. Being displaced during a hurricane and going on a 12-0 streak on the road while we're staying in hotels. There's so many things I can think of while at Dillard that were really great moments for me. And just being able to kind of bond with my student athletes that I had during that time. Those are all very special moments that I really enjoyed while being there.
For you, what was that transition like going from Dillard, where you were a head coach, to coming to Talladega to become a head coach?
Yeah, I don't the transition wasn't really bad. I feel like, going coming to Talladega, when I first came here, the intentions were for us to go Division II. That didn't happen. So I kind of ended up back in the conference that I was in while I was at Dillard. So it was kind of picking up where you left off. But at the same time, understanding what you're coming into. I think coming into Talladega, I came into a very unique situation. I had a group of girls that were hungry, a group of girls that really wanted to win, and then coming in as a coach that did not recruit them, and then bringing in kids that I recruited and trying to mesh into different cultures was definitely something that was a challenge. We had a lot of growing pains within that first year, but despite all of that, I think we were able to come together and kind of find that common denominator, which was we had a group of kids, whether you were recruited by me or the previous coach, that wanted to win and wanted to be here and wanted to play volleyball. So I think that was a big part of our success, a big part of us winning the conference tournament and being able to go to the first round of nationals and taking a set from the eventual national champions.
How is it like getting to coach both the men's side and the women's side of volleyball for Talladega?
It is a good experience. It's a great experience, but I would say that I don't really think there's a difference. I think volleyball is volleyball. When it comes down to the skills, it comes down to technicality. It's the same. The only difference is obviously you have men versus women, and so coaching the women in the fall and then really not getting a break between me and my associate head coach and then going into the spring and having the guys is, I think, is like the biggest like hump that we have to get over. Like we don't stop. So we go, the girls get here end of July, and I'm so sorry. The girls get here end of July, and then we get a small break during Christmas time, and then we're right back at it in January preparing for the men. So I definitely enjoy it. I definitely enjoy both teams. You get the best of both worlds, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different talent, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, honestly.
For you, what was that experience like stepping onto that court for the first time at Talladega?
It was exciting. I mean, it was new. Not knowing what to expect coming in, I got to spend the spring with some of the returners and then bringing in the kids that I recruited. And so, like, going into our first match, it was kind of like, what to expect. What is our atmosphere going to be like? What is the support going to be like? How are these kids going to perform? And I will honestly say, like, the first time that our first match here at home was amazing. Prior to the season, I commented and I said, I believe that fans will see a different style of Talladega College volleyball, and I think they saw that. And I think every time those girls last season stepped onto the court, they really put on a show. And I mean, I think the things that we accomplished showed that, for sure.
Of course, what does a typical game day look like for you as a coach versus for your players?
So typical game day is pretty relaxed for me. I don't like to do too much. I As far as our kids go, we have a serve and pass. We have visualization. We have our pregame talk. Of course, we're a smaller school, so you do everything. You set up the gym. We have treatment times, things of that nature. But I don't like to put too much on the girls because I feel like once you step onto the court, like that adrenaline is already rushing. So like I like to have the day for myself as well as my staff, my team, for us to be able to go about our everyday thing. But the major thing is, just staying focused. When it gets down to that, 3 or 4 hour mark before match time, where's our head at? Where's our mind at? What are we doing so that we can prepare to compete?
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to build for the program?
Yeah, of course. I think, coming into Talladega, I wanted to establish a winning culture. I think that, we have great things happening within our campus, within the school. And so coming in, my main thing was like, we stress culture. This year, our quote was culture over quantity. And the biggest thing for me is like, not only, mentoring and establishing this culture off the court, in the court, but also off the court. I want to be able to instill in my athletes the will and the want to win, not only, within volleyball, within life. So for me, it's just like, I see them beyond athletes. They're students. They have to graduate and they have to get their degree. So the biggest thing for me is bringing in kids, character kids that want to win, kids that, have high morals, high values, and that understand what it is that I'm trying to do. We are a small HBCU. And so we do have a lot of challenges when it comes down to certain things. So I want to make sure that the kids that I do bring into this system, that they understand what we are trying to do, what we are trying to build, and the culture that we are establishing. These last 2 years, I feel like we've kind of set the foundation the first year. We built a little bit on top of it this year, but going into the third year, I definitely want to make sure that we have a solid group that understand the culture that we are building, and understanding that, it's only the beginning. We've had 2 great seasons, but that doesn't matter. Like, we still have room to grow, and we still have to make sure that we stick to the culture and we stick to who we are and what we are within Talladega College volleyball.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So we have the HBCU AC, let me say, is definitely growing. Just to name a few, obviously Dillard is in our conference, the school that I previously came from. Fisk University, Tougaloo. You have Oakwood here in Alabama. Stillman College just joined. We have Philander Smith College, Wiley. I don't think Southern University, New Orleans is in our conference. Russ College is in our conference, and so and we are. they're supposed to add a couple of other more schools, but nothing. It hasn't. It's not official yet, so I can't say those names. But those are the schools that are in the conference, and I think volleyball wise, the conference is growing. We're getting bigger. Not only that, we're getting more competitive. Next year will be my sixth season in the within this conference that was formerly the GCAC, but is now the HBCUAC. So I can honestly say from my first year in the conference until now, it's definitely grown. Competition is definitely there, and I'm looking forward to see throughout the years how it continues to expand and grow skill wise.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Dillard come to home versus going to your alma mater and playing away?
Um, so Dillard has not came here. We've always played them at a neutral site. And then we played them last year at Dillard. So I will say this. I think, I'll use Fist for example. I think every time we play them and it's at home, it's very exciting. The crowd definitely gets into it. It's definitely a match where we go head to head. And so it does feel good. I'll say going back to Stillman to compete as a coach, the atmosphere is there. I think their crowd is definitely into it. But I mean, it just kind of we have a few rallies to where the crowd gets into it and it gets exciting. But I definitely will say it's not the same as being at home and playing against a different school. I'll say that here at home. So the atmosphere is nothing like being here in the student activity center.
What does that recruitment process look like? And as a head coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
So recruiting process for us, it varies. If you look at my roster, I like to transfer. I worked on the junior college level, so I understand and I know, the work that some of those junior college kids put in. And so it's good to get some of those kids to that have that experience and have that playing time to come in. Looking for a kid that's if I'm looking at a true freshman, it depends on their position, but overall, you want a kid that's going to come in that is willing to grow. I always, tell any recruit that I talk to, like, I'm recruiting you to come. I'm not recruiting you to fit in. I'm recruiting you to come and compete. You want to come in, you want to get better, you understand why you're here. We're in Talladega, Alabama, and I feel as though if you're coming here to get your degree, number one, and then you're coming here to play volleyball. Everything else is secondary. I do want you to have a life outside of those things, but realizing that your purpose for being here is to get your degree and to win on the court.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that first Talladega College jersey?
It's always good to see freshmen in their first match. Just see them out there to be able to warm up and kind of get those first game jitters out. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's always good. And I think, when it comes down to me, I think from freshman to senior, it doesn't matter. If you can play, you can play. So if you're a freshman that comes in and you play, you're going to get that time. So it honestly just depends on the people, but it's always good to see freshmen, get that opportunity to put that jersey on for the first time for sure.
How is that like getting to see those seniors putting it on for the last time?
It's tough, especially when you have seniors that you have seen from freshman year up until their senior year, or even from their junior year, having them for 2 years or having them for 3 years. It's always tough, but it's also rewarding because for me, I look back on the time I had with them. I look back on their growth. I look back on the accomplishments that they've made, the accomplishments they made, the goals that they set for themselves, and it just really makes me proud to see a senior, put that jersey. It makes me sad, but it makes me proud at the same time because I understand all the things they've been through, especially when you're at the end of the season and you see, like, okay, well, we started out your senior year and these are the things that you wanted to accomplish. Like, you did those things. You did those things. And so for me, it really makes me proud. It's kind of a bittersweet moment, I guess you can say.
What is that like getting to see those players going into coaching after their playing career?
It's great. I actually have quite a few athletes that I've had the joy of coaching that are now coaches. So like being able to see them make their post, or sometimes they don't know, but I'll look at their schedule, and if it's a live stream, I'll catch the live stream just to see them in their element. It really feels good. It really feels great. And um you don't see a lot of volleyball athletes on the women's side that go on to coach after playing. Most of them get into their careers, whatever that may be. And most of the time it's not coaching. So being able to see your athletes kind of do what you love doing and just see them on the other side is always a good feeling. And it definitely makes me proud for sure.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Um, Future plans for the program is just continue building. I think that we've kind of established that we can compete. And so now that we have kind of set that foundation and say, like, hey, we can compete. We can compete within conference. We can compete outside of conference. So now what's next for us? I think, this year we went into the tournament and we did not win. We won regular season. We did not win the tournament. We ended up getting upset. So for us, like going into next year, what are we going to do to make sure that we, kind of uphold that standard? What is that behavior that what is that behavior going to look like going into that? I think, we got over the hump of being like, hey, like Talladega is not a pushover program. We have our ups, we have our downs, but at the end of the day, like we are a growing program and we can compete. So I think for the future of this program, just looking to bring in athletes, like I said, that understand our purpose, understand our culture. We're a small HBCU, and I really want to be able to represent not only Talladega College, but HBCUs on the national level. So for the future of our program, we are looking to continue to build, continue to bring in athletes that understand the purpose and what we are trying to do. And from there, we want to be able to continue to compete in conference. And then our next step is to making it past that first round of nationals.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college volleyball?
Enjoy it. Remember your purpose and understand that you're here for a reason. A lot of these kids, I feel like, can get distracted and can get discouraged for different reasons, but knowing and understanding why you are where you're at and being present. The biggest thing is to be present, being present in the moment, and just working hard no matter what, whether you are that sixth, like that seventh person off the bench, whether you are the second middle, the second outside, the second setter, third, fourth, fifth, it doesn't matter. Just being present in that moment, understanding your role, and doing what you can do to the best of your ability.
What advice would you give those rising juniors transitioning into being seniors and leading the program?
Senior year goes fast, and so seize the moment. Be a leader, whether that's vocally, whether you lead by example, whatever that may be. Make sure that you do that and understand that you don't get these days back. There's a lot of us that can't play anymore, aren't able to play, but we're still able to be a part of the game. And once you're done, it's done. So just taking every moment and understanding that tomorrow is not promised. And whatever it is that you do, make sure that when you do it, you put your all into it, and that whatever it is that you leave, like leave your mark. And however that looks, whether you have the highest GPA, whether you have the most attacks, whether you have the most assists, whatever that looks like for you in that moment, just be present and make sure you do it to the best of your ability.
What advice would you give those college seniors that have aspirations of playing professionally or getting into coaching?
I would just say go like do your research. Do your research. A lot of people have aspirations to go professional. A lot of people have aspirations to do other things, but at the end of the day, if you know that you haven't put in that work to be able to do that, then you have to do your research and you have to understand that that may not be an option. And if that is not an option, then what's next? I think when it comes down to coaching, again, research. What level do you want to coach on? Do you want to start on the high school level? Do you want to start on the junior college level? Do you want to start off coaching club, and also just reaching out to the people that reaching out, and understanding that you are going to get some no's. It's going to happen, but if it's something that you really and truly want, you're going to continue to push forward. You're going to continue to kind of get that experience. Being a college athlete within itself is already that experience that you have. You have 4 years of playing experience. After that, what's next? What can I do to make sure that my resume, that I put myself out there so that I'm able to get an opportunity. And when you get an opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity, soak in and learn as much as you can so that you're able to continue and grow in this field.
What advice would you give those college coaches out there that are looking to become head coaches and build their own program?
I would say, you'll know when you're ready to kind of be a head coach. I think I always tell people, like, I feel like I think I can go back to my head coaches that I assisted for. I was the best assistant that I can be. And until you can master being a great assistant, I don't think that, you're necessarily ready to be a head coach, because understanding and being an assistant and learning and growing is a part of that head coaching. Because once you get into the head coaching position, you know, it's that plus more. And so just being a great assistant and understanding, I don't think that, you'll know in your heart whether you want to be a head coach or not. I've come across a lot of people that were assistants that just, they don't want to be a head coach. So I think, just understanding and knowing, like, when it is your time, like, that time will come. And just I'm really big on just kind of like just putting it all in God's hands. And when I first took my head coaching position in the JUCO I was at, I was not intended to be the head coach there. I was the assistant, and I had plans to move when my head coach left. And so it's something that I had to pray about. It's something that I had to just really contemplate on. And I asked God, am I ready to be a head coach? And once I felt like I was ready for that, I moved into that spot. And then you just have to find a place that where you fit. And it's not going to always be perfect. There's going to be things that happen, but you got to make sure that you kind of just roll with the punches and take it with what it is.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program at?
So you can follow us at Dega WBV and Dega MVB on Instagram. And on Instagram, my handle is Coach Spurgeon. It's underscore L Spurgeon. So L and then my last name. And then on Twitter, it's exactly the same.
Thank you again, Coach LaShaunda Spurgeon, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Talladega as the head men's and women's volleyball coach.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.